All right, here's how to explain the registers. You have chest voice, which is your normal speaking range. As a baritone, this is my normal speaking range. And then, as you want to go higher, chest voice will eventually become too heavy to go up past a certain point without putting excess pressure on the voice. So you have to take chest voice and you have to lighten it up. There can't be as much bassiness to the bottom part of your sound, and you have to feel the sound living up in your head more. And so head voice becomes relevant when you reach high enough in your range. So this is still the speaking register. This is not falsetto yet. This is still mode 1. Falsetto would be mode 2. But right now we have chest and head voice. So this is chest voice, and then as I go higher, I have head voice. This is still my speaking voice, but it's just higher. It's lighter, more spacious, and easier on my voice when I carry it up higher. So once you can take head voice up high enough, you will find it reaches a critical limitation, and that will depend on your voice type. As a baritone, the limitation of head voice is really about a G4 to an A4 on the piano. So like if I try to find my notes here, that should be a G4 if I remember correct. Because here is middle C, I'm pretty sure. And then we have So that's still in my speaking register, but it's head voice. It's lighter, it's higher up, feels like it lives in the head. And I'm really creating a lot of space with that too. Kind of sounds operatic, right? Like I'm creating an operatic head voice kind of tone. This is head voice. So around there, that's about the limitation of my head voice. Maybe I could stretch it a little more, but that's the transition point when I normally would sing with like falsetto after that. That would be, classically speaking, with classical voice, how the transition would work. But if we want to have a much more cutting sound up there in our register transition area, we have to learn how to take head voice and brighten it up and turn it into mixed voice. Now, mixed voice is not exclusively mode 1 with our speaking range. It's not exclusively mode 2 falsetto. Woo! It's not exclusively that. It is a coordination between the two. So mixed voice is where a lot of magic happens. You have head voice, that's very high up in my voice, but still my speaking voice, not falsetto yet. That's a transition note right there. If I start to go higher and lean into the feeling of falsetto, but don't actually flip into falsetto, I'm going to stay in head voice, but I'm going to lean into the feeling of falsetto and bring in some brightness with a little bit of vocal compression. Lean into the sound. And so it would transition like this. There's a little more brightness to that because I'm leaning into the feeling of falsetto that I know very well. I know that feeling really well because I practice it a lot. So I keep the feeling of falsetto in my mind, and I stay in head voice. I don't flip into falsetto, but I lean into falsetto. And I add a little bit of compression. And so I go, now this right here is my mixed voice. It's somewhere in between head voice and falsetto. That's mixed. It's in between. And now once you find that register of mixed voice, you then practice going higher and lower to expand its range. And then what you find is that middle part in your voice, which can feel really challenging to coordinate and move through, which is upper chest and lower falsetto. Mixed voice is the unifying register that brings life into that middle part of your range. Like it's the strategy. So if I have this very bright kind of sound right here, that cuts through a lot more. There's no pressure on my voice. But I can't access mixed voice like that unless my head voice right here can go high enough. And that's just mode 1, speaking voice. When that can go high enough, head voice, then I can start to lean into falsetto and bring in some of the brightness. There's head voice. Then I'm going to bring in a little bit of the brightness, a little more vocal compression. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Head voice. Yeah, ha. Mixed voice. And then falsetto would be yeah, yeah. So mixed voice is in between, right? Once you figure out that coordination, then a whole lot of cool things become available to you. Like your voice feels a lot easier to operate. You can cut through a lot more easily. And if you happen to be interested in singing alto or soprano parts, mixed voice is the way to do that, because mixed voice allows your middle part of your range to sound much more like the chest voice of a female. It reinforces it a lot more. So when I do this, wah, 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 that sounds closer to the usual speaking voice of a female, an alto or a soprano. So it already puts you more in that category. So if you want to sing any alto or soprano parts within contemporary music, that becomes much more possible for you as a male. But if you're interested in distortion, mixed voice is the missing component for most vocalists, because it allows you to take your distortion up much higher. High screams become so much more manageable. So if I kind of experiment right now with my distortion, chest voice distortion for me would be, yo, yo, here is my chest voice distortion. My false chords are brought together and my air is regulated. Yo, yo. So that's kind of a middle range chest voice distortion for me. And then as I want to go up higher, I'm going to feel head voice as I engage the distortion. So, yo, yo, this right here is head voice, distortion, yo. And then I can take it up even higher, which I'm still working on. That can be a difficult coordination, but it's really cool whenever you lock in with the sensation, you go way up. So I can go, yo, yo, yo. You can go way up higher. Like that's mixed voice. If I take mixed voice, take the feeling of mixed voice and apply it to distortion, I can take my distortion way higher. And that's not even the highest fry distortion that I could theoretically do, or any singer could theoretically do it. You could go up even higher as you take your mix up into falsetto territory. If I were to try that now, might be a little difficult for me, but we have yo, 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 yo. So there I'm just adding a shout into kind of my falsetto area. But because I've been working on mixed voice, it sounds more robust than it otherwise would. But I can also still do yo, yo. So that's still my mixed head voice area. And you can hear the sound is more open and more guttural than if I did high fry distortion. Yo, 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 yo. They're different in their sound, but you can do either one. And so when you're really trying to do modern metal, that's how to do it without blowing your voice out. You've got to develop a mixed voice. But you can't get to mixed voice until head voice can go high enough, like that. You've got to take your chest voice and get it to go high. This is not falsetto. This is falsetto. This is head voice, which is a higher chest range. When that can go high enough, you will start to feel the ability to lean into falsetto, add a little brightness, add a little compression, and then you get mixed voice. Whoa, 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 whoa. That's mixed voice for me. So there's the difference between the registers. You could probably go more in depth into how to develop these various things, but that's kind of the overview. Especially for distortion, which can very easily wear our voices out, mixed voice is a game changer. But you can't get to mixed voice until you work on head voice first.